Why do so many fans hate FNAF Into the Pit? Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit, a game released in August of 2024 that quickly took the spot of #1 in trending of the FNAF community, with people publicly expressing their excitement for the game and creators saying they like the new approach to a 2D FNAF free roam game. However, when the game finally released, it left a sour taste in many fans' mouths. It was met with disappointment and much criticism. This was very strange, and many people are left wondering, well, what happened, and why so many avid fans of the FNAF franchise hate the latest FNAF game so much. Into the Pit is the latest game of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise and released by Mega Cat Studios in 2024. It features a young kid named Oswald who's on a mission to save his dad from an evil spring bunny after no one else believes him. Throughout the game, you're left solving some pretty basic puzzles, but mostly running for your life and hiding from a few various animatronics, including Spring Bonnie, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy. When you're not running for your life from animatronics, you're busy being bullied and picked on at school, solving various side quests, and picking up clues on how to save your father, all while experiencing various hallucinations. While on the outside, FNAF Into the Pit looks fine, and the idea seems sound and polished, FNAF Into the Pit runs into a few key problems. First basic problems fans ran into with the game was constant bugs, with many players of the FNAF game taking to their reviews to leave not so positive feedback of the game, with one fan stating, "I launched the game, I get stuck on confirming the difficulty. I confirm, but nothing happens. I need to go back and load the game. Then on the first cutscene, I'm forced to skip it because the text no longer shows up. Then in the game, I'm talking to a character, but after the conversation ends, I can't move and get stuck in place. The fact they even released this crap early is insane." With many other players of the game taking their side in their replies stating, "Refunding the game, not spending 20 euros for something I'm gonna have to wait patches to actually play. I'm good." And another one stating, "Same exact problems happened to me. Incredible how the game just hardlocks you in the first 5 minutes of gameplay." While I personally never experienced these problems while running the game, it seems dozens and dozens of FNAF fans have taken to things such as Twitter, Reddit, and the Steam reviews to express their disappointment and distaste in how a game could have possibly been released so poorly and what feels like so rushed. Is the hate really deserved for being what some may call too ambitious? It's Mega Cat's first FNAF game. Can we really blame them for this new approach, which Scott himself signed off on? Mega Cat Studios seemed to take their criticism fairly well, however, and during the first month of its release Into the Pit, it received 4 updates fixing nearly every complaint the players had with it. But even now that the game was playable for many more, people still voiced their disdain for Into the Pit, turning their criticism to its stealth mechanics instead. Throughout the game, you're left mostly going around from point A to point B and hiding in cupboards or boxes when necessary. Well, actually, this is throughout the entire game. Now, there are some quick timed events in some of these hiding scenarios, like holding your breath or swatting away spiders, but fans of the franchise quickly grew tired of this real quick, with them taking to their reviews and Reddit saying, "It drags on for too long, and the gameplay gets repetitive really quickly." They never really introduced any new mechanics, and the entire game boils down to luring Spring Bonnie into a room, hiding, and going back and forth between the ball pit to find an item you need and to use it in a different area. With another fan saying, "This game is kinda boring, not worth the money," and another one backing both these comments up, claiming it was a waste of time, boring, and repetitive. It was not enjoyable, and I want more games like Security Breach. Now, while I understand wanting more games like Security Breach, personally I feel as if they advertised the game well enough to have fans not thinking it was going to be like Security Breach. If you go into this game thinking it's going to be like Security Breach, personally I think you have yourself to blame. This game was also released by a completely different studio, so expecting a Security Breach game from them off the bat is like expecting your toddler to stand up and do 2 back handsprings and a somersault in perfect form. The kid can't even walk yet. Give them a minute. I can't ever back to claim that parts of Into the Pit did in fact feel repetitive, and it was a lot of going back here and going there and collecting this and hiding, and once you got the hang of it, the game sort of became relatively easier than you would want for a FNAF game. Most FNAF games introduce new animatronics each night or turn the animatronics AI up, or usually do both. This keeps the traditional 5 to 7 nights you get in a FNAF game feeling fresh and challenging. However, Into the Pit seems to fail here, and to be honest, it doesn't even feel like they really tried. You really only face Spring Bonnie, and from what I could tell, he's pretty much the same difficulty for the entire game. Chica can't even kill you, and you only run into roughly 2 scenes with Bonnie and about 2 or 3 with Freddy, with the end scene being a Spring Bonnie chase, where Chica, Bonnie, and Freddy's roles are just to stand there and block doors. Parts of the Into the Pit honestly feel like wasted potential. Into the Pit fails past the first night to really entice fear into the player, and fear is what you need for a good FNAF game. The biggest downfall of Into the Pit, however, which upset players the most, was its lack of story and lore. Into the Pit was advertised to fans as a story-driven FNAF game, which I think was exciting to a lot of FNAF players, considering most FNAF games on the market right now have very little lore explained and story attached. So since this game was based on the FNAF book, many fans and theorists of the game were hoping to get their hands on more details on the Five Nights at Freddy's world. However, fans of the franchise were left even more frustrated when they realized that the FNAF Into the Pit didn't really contain any story or lore all behind the bare backbones of rescuing Oswald's dad. Pretty meh release that only looks good. The gameplay is gosh awful and the story is a joke. The lore of this game is even worse than the lore and is basically just a refresh of the Fazbear Fright stories. The game follows the same protagonist, with the same conflict, with the same antagonist. There are of course the differences that were made to make the original story better as a game, such as the new characters, the new threats, and taking place over 5 nights instead of 1. But none of that really changes the fact that this is just a playable version of the first Fazbear Fright story, when it really could have done more to warrant making the game in the first place. Really bad, legit took me an hour to beat. It's confusing, lore, and bad gameplay. While it was cool to see the FNAF franchise take a different route like this, Into the Pit is a really bare bones game once you look past the nice sprite work. The game presents itself as a story-driven experience as opposed to previous entries, which were more about gameplay, with a story told through Easter eggs and the like. And yet, the story of this game is pretty much non-existent. Once you've gone back in time and seen Spring Bonnie replace your dad, you've pretty much seen everything. Another fan statement, weird plot that feels like a script ripped from the 1995 Goosebumps TV show. Extremely shallow. unexplained spookiness that is fun but not intriguing enough for a game, pushed forward by dialogue alone. Gameplay-wise, prepare to collect items, more items, and do quick-timed events. In summary, it seems like if you've already read the books or know literally anything about the FNAF game, Into the Pit is overwhelmingly not recommended for this reason. As a FNAF fan who played the game myself, I can definitely understand people's complaints, as I do agree some points were a little slow and sort of repetitive, and at a point you know exactly what to expect. So after around 30 minutes, the game simply wasn't scary anymore. I also think the game was fairly easy, ranking as one of the easiest FNAF games I've ever played. I also think some of the endings were slightly disappointing, not really giving you a satisfying feeling after, or any story to really make you feel content. I also wish the game had been slightly scarier, and they had implemented more mechanics than just hiding for hours. However, despite all the negatives I think this game had, I still think it was worth it, and I still fully enjoyed playing it. While FNAF Into the Pit has its flaws, I enjoyed the new approach to a Five Nights at Freddy's game, and was excited we got a new one at all. If you're skeptical about playing this game, I definitely recommend giving it a try. I definitely had more of a positive experience than a negative one, and the game still has many positive reviews with fans saying one of the best FNAF games. I really like the arcade games, and the game in general is really fun, and the general feel is creepy and makes you more nervous about going out with Spring Bonnie roaming around, and others saying just finish Nightmare Mode, and I can say that this game is outstanding. This is my 3 favorite FNAF game after FNAF Help Wanted and FNAF 4, 8.8 out of 10. However, this is just my opinion and theirs. No one can decide for you, so make sure you play the game and then leave your opinion in the comments below. And just like always, this video on the screen is recommended just for you.